This is episode 42 with Jordan Younger of The Balanced Blonde. Every ounce of your being is made up of molecules of energy vibrating at different frequencies that determine your experience here on planet Earth.
This podcast's intention is to inspire you to elevate the vibration of your energy for yourself and for all of us. This is The Elevator.
Hop on in and ride into the ethers with Britt and Tara of Elevate the Globe.
I've always been really open, and I didn't know that what I was doing all this time was channeling and connecting to higher energies. I thought my imagination was wild and that I would come up with these things all on my own. And that's why I was able to sit down and write, like 30,000 words in a couple days. Like I would do things like that all the time since I was really young, like 5 years old.
So before we get into our episode, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, Evolve Hair Care. And we are so excited about that brand. I am so grateful that we found them because Evolve is a natural, organic, vegan, cruelty-free, 100% clean hair care product line. And they also have body care products. But today I really want to share a little bit more about the hair care because it has literally been life-changing, hair-changing. And I've been using Evolve for over a month now. So I have really been able to get a feel for the products so I can share with you guys with confidence, what they've really done for me. So there's no sulfates, there's no gluten, no parabens, no silicones, nothing that we don't want on our hair. This company is also extremely sustainable, which we love. And they have eco-conscious practices in place, and they use recyclable packaging and materials, no plastics or foam, and they don't use any harsh chemicals or hormone disruptors, which, are really contaminating the water. So not only, you guys, is this completely great for our health and our planet, but they also have science behind the actual performance of their products, which is the key in, how well it's been working, I feel. So they have many different options. They have a curly hair formula, which I've been using. They also have one for shine. They have a great leave-in conditioner, which I've been personally loving. And so they really have products for everybody depending on your hair needs. But, for me, I've really noticed that it's helping my hair grow. My hair has been growing faster in the last month than it was previously. And it also doesn't dry out my hair or leave it too oily. I've also found I've been able to wash my hair less since using them. And I'm just really excited. I wasn't sure how well it was going to work because it is so clean and natural, but it absolutely works so well. And Tara and our other ETG team member, Lily, have also been using it and loving it so much. So I'm really obsessed with so many of their products. They also have a Wonder Balm, which is great for shine and keeping your hair looking really great. So we are so excited to partner with them and to offer you guys more organic, sustainable, vegan, amazing options that actually work really well. So we are happy to offer 15% off for any of their products. We were so excited when they gave us that discount code to pass on to you guys. So all you have to do is head over to evolve.com and enter the code ELEVATE15 for 15% off. And we'll also put the link in the show notes for you. Let us know how you like it. We are so excited for you guys to get into today's episode. I, Britt, am taking over for introing this episode and in the lobby talk as Tara is taking some time off to just have a break and reconnect. So I am so excited to share with you guys more about this episode's guest. And many of you, I'm sure, probably already know Jordan Younger from The Balanced Blonde. And we are so honored to have her on the podcast for so many reasons, but one being that her podcast, Soul on Fire, was the first podcast that Tara and I were ever on. And she's a huge inspiration to us in general and for us starting this podcast. So many connections. And we're so excited for you to listen to everything that we talk about on this episode. Jordan has become such a great friend of Tara and I's over the past year or so. And we are just so honored to have her on and share her journey and her story and her love with you guys. So before we get into it, I want to share a little bit more about Jordan. So Jordan Younger is the blogger behind the wellness and lifestyle blog, The Balanced Blonde. And she does so much. She is not only a yoga teacher, but she also, like I mentioned, has her podcast, Soul on Fire. She has real conversations about spirituality, wellness, high vibes, and is all about authenticity, which she truly embodies. She is also the author of the eating disorder memoir, recovery memoir, Breaking Vegan, and of the Soul on Fire yoga ebook. So Jordan has so much going on. She really is all about having a balanced life. And she is newly engaged to her amazing fiance, Jonathan, who we love. And she's also recently been diagnosed with Lyme disease, which she talks a lot about in this episode. She shares her powerful journey and also her journey of healing. So she really goes into all of it on this episode, and it's incredibly inspirational to hear her story. And, for all of us, no matter what kind of challenge we face, Jordan is truly showing what it means to handle the ups and downs of life with grace and really doing it in a way to inspire so many others. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear everything she has to say. There's so many amazing pieces of wisdom and nuggets of inspiration. And I think this episode will really touch each and every one of your hearts. So can't wait to hear feedback on what you thought about this episode. Be sure to screenshot your favorite part and tag us and Jordan at The Balanced Blonde on stories, and we'll be sure to repost and be sharing with the whole Elevate the Globe community. So without further ado, enjoy the show. All right, welcome back, guys, and welcome, Jordan. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yay.
Finally.
Right?
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, so we were actually just discussing how it was about a year and a half ago that we met you and then ended up coming on your podcast way before we even had a podcast.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
And you guys were a huge hit on my podcast, huge hit. So when people learned that you were starting a podcast, they were very excited.
Right?
That was like back when we were high vibe living still.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
I should
funny.
probably change the title of that episode just now because that's not really your brand
can't find
at
us
all
anymore,
anymore.
Yeah. Awesome. So Jordan is our amazing friend. We love her so much. She's not only a writer, a yoga teacher, and really just a spiritual, I want to say activist. We're like, what's going to come out of my mouth? And just such an inspiration, honestly. You've inspired me in so many ways with so much just of the love that you share. And so we're so excited to have you on.
Thank you. That's beautiful. I never get introed. Like I always have people on my podcast, so it's really fun to be introed by someone who knows me so well. It's very cool.
Yay.
Thank you.
I love it. Yeah, Jordan. So the first question we always ask people on the elevator is to just give a little elevator pitch about who you are and what you're doing in the world right now.
That is so fun.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've never given one like a real elevator pitch.
You do you.
Yeah. Well, I'm Jordan and I have a blog, The Balanced Blonde, which has become my entire life for better or for worse, and mostly for better all the time. I think it's incredibly fun to communicate with so many people every day through my blog and podcast and social media and email and all the other amazing ways that we all stay connected. But in my personal life, as you guys well know, I have gotten very sick and very just tapped out with, I've been doing my business for almost 6 years, which was pretty wild as the Balanced Blonde, once the Blonde Vegan, which is a whole other story that we can talk about too.
Yeah.
And I need to kind of draw inward and spend some time on me, not me as the Balanced Blonde. So I'm really excited about that. And I can't wait to see where it takes me. I have a feeling a lot of things that you guys are into will be a part of that journey for me, from Kundalini to channeling to human design. I'm just really excited to explore things for me and not for constant sharing, which is probably something we all do these days, even if it's not just us bloggers and social media people. So that's my current elevator pitch.
Oh, I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, you are such a giver, and you've been, we've seen you over the last year and a half give so much, but I'm excited to see you give the same energy back to yourself to see what happens. I kind of feel, we were talking before we got on, we just feel like there's just going to be like a massive explosion in your life of like major ideas, new paths. I feel like some things that maybe you've never even thought about are going to come to you. And I'm just excited for you to feel better.
Me too.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait. I know once I feel better, everything will be a lot more clear. And I agree. I have no idea what's coming with this break that I'm taking and this spiritual shift that I'm in. And that's what's exciting to me. I try to see what's coming with like, I know that I want to study human design, and I mean, study in a very loose sense, like have fun with it and write poetry and work on books. But I don't know if any of that will happen or all of it. That's what's so exciting. It's just whatever's meant to be will feel so right and it will unfold. And I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. You're just so open and like surrendering. And I feel like those really are the times in our life when we're able to receive the most, and just be so guided.
Yeah. It's the most optimism I've felt in a long time, because this whole year I have felt so stuck and not really hopeful because I just kept getting sicker. And then I would try to take time off, and I did some amazing things. I spent a month in Bali, as you guys know, and then I spent a month water fasting and spent more time away from home in LA than I ever have away from my fiance and my cat, who's my child, and my family and everything. And I thought that that would be very fulfilling, but it wasn't. And so that was kind of something that I knew I needed to pay attention to. Why are these things not fulfilling me and filling me up and rejuvenating me and healing me? And I realized it was because I was still working. And even if I wasn't working like day to day in LA the way that I'm used to, I was sharing everything and being very on and doing as much as I could, like for the Balanced Blonde. So maybe not enough for myself personally. And that's why I'm so optimistic now, because I feel like that's the missing piece that has been very scary for me. Otherwise, I would have done it sooner. Take some time to myself. And I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah. So I don't think we've mentioned yet, but Jordan, you've been diagnosed with Lyme disease. And that is one that a lot of people are getting diagnosed with Lyme disease more and more these days. It's like becoming more of a thing where they actually are knowing what it is. And so this is where a lot of your sickness is coming from, is this Lyme disease, which you're really now doing so much to heal it. So what kind of stuff are you like? What does your day look like right now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So I mean, just to like continue with what you were saying about how many people are getting diagnosed with Lyme disease, 300,000 people a year are now getting diagnosed with Lyme disease, which means probably 500,000, 600,000 people per year are contracting Lyme and not getting diagnosed as well. And it's still one of the hugest misconceptions in medicine and a global epidemic that people still believe really only occurs on the East Coast, and it's just not true. So that's a whole thing in itself. And I feel so honored to be able to spread the message of Lyme, which is another reason why I find myself always sharing, although taking a break will not make a huge dent in that. And I'll come back stronger and able to help more people, including myself. So my day to day is so different than what it was a while back. Every day this week, I go to my doctor's office in Beverly Hills and get some kind of IV. So either an iron IV because I have very severe anemia because of Lyme, or ozone, so intravenous ozone therapy, which helps a lot. I did take like 3 weeks off because I was traveling from ozone and I felt significantly sicker. So I was really happy to see that it is helping me improve more than I noticed in the moment. And I do 10 passes of ozone, where an ozone machine cleans your blood and turns dark, sick blood red and healthy. It's very cool.
So
very
amazing.
Innovative, and only has been in the US for less than 5 years. So I feel lucky to be on this path now and not a decade ago, like many people have struggled for so long, including some of people in your personal life in this room. So I go to the doctor's office. I do that. I go for pain IVs this week, something called Teradol. If anyone's heard of it, it's I think it's an antibiotic. I can't be trusted. I just trust my doctor. I get the most scatterbrain from Lyme. That's a whole other thing with the brain fog. And then I spend a lot of time resting. I sleep in these days, like as late as I can. I try not to set an alarm because when I do, I seem to never be able to recover for the rest of the day. And I rest and I get as much work done as I can, whether it be the podcast or blogging or writing. And I try to only see people who really lift me up, like you guys and close friends and family. And my circle of people I've just had to make it a lot smaller than it once was, which I feel very happy about, because when you're sick with Lyme or anything, you just don't have the same kind of energy, and you need to be with people who fill you up and where it's easy. So I do that. And I really, when I can, I like to be outside and go to the beach or go on a walk. But these days, that's not always an option for me because of how tired and how sick I can feel. So that's most of the day. And I make my own food at home because I have such a strict diet right now for healing. And that takes up a lot of time. And there goes my whole day. And then I take a bath. And I read, and that's all. That's the day. It's so different. I used to be someone who really glorified being busy, quote unquote. I really don't like that word anymore or ever. I never liked that word. I just felt like it was so cool to be so full scheduled and going to all these events and hosting my own events and filling my day with all these things that bloggers do. I did that for a lot of years, and it's just not my life anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's
right
interesting
now.
how it's shifted.
Yeah, who knows? Things will continue to shift. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's like different every day. So you've like had to be so much more flexible and so much more intuitive because it's completely out of your control.
Yes. Yes. And I will say, I think being sick is the biggest blessing in the world from the universe. It's a gift because I knew I needed to slow down, and I knew there was much deeper meaning to life than the very fast paced life that I was living. And slowing down helped me do a lot of things, including finally finding and seeing the love of my life was already in my life, and just other kind of discoveries I've made, spiritual discoveries, as you guys are totally familiar with because I talk to you about it all the time, but psychic abilities that I had no idea about that have strengthened so much since being sick, and I've barely scratched the surface. So
why do you think that is for you? Like, were you paying attention to it, or was it literally just because you were slowing down?
So many things.
Yeah.
I think timing in life is everything. And I don't think it was my time yet for that. I think it was my time. I think my life has come in such strong seasons. And I had this like really big season of life where I was working constantly to build my brand and prove to myself, really, I think that I could sustain myself and build something that I was really proud of. And working was like what I found success, how I defined being successful. And then that was a big season, and it was important, and it was fun at the time. And I really got over that season. And then it was like, well, now what? And if that's not filling me up in my soul, I need to look elsewhere. And then that's when, nothing is coincidental. And I can draw it back to 3 years ago when I got Hudson, my cat, super serendipitously. And I believe he brought this energy into my life because we have many past life connections, him and I. And he came here to teach me a lot. And that's when I learned to slow down. And then that's when Hudson told me, which, okay, I hope everyone listening doesn't think I'm crazy, but you guys get it.
No one thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, you guys get it. Hudson told me, you, like, the person you're supposed to be with is literally one of your best friends. So then I opened my eyes and I saw, oh, Jonathan, like, duh. And then Jonathan and I started dating, and now we're going to get married. And like, this has been the last couple years of my life. So I just think it's come in seasons, and I just wasn't as open back then as I am now. And I think it's all meant to be, because what I really think is that I was building up my platform as the Balanced Blonde, all about wellness. And then I started to very slowly introduce spirituality into my own life and then into my brand's life. And now I have all these amazing people in my community who I really think what I'm meant to be sharing is like this much deeper meaning than where I started. So helping people find their own spirituality, making it accessible, very similar to you guys in many ways. And I am so much more fulfilled by doing that. But I think I had to be this different person when I started in order to even get to this point.
So true. Yeah, it's funny because I remember when we first met you, it was kind of, at least I feel like it was on like sort of the beginning part of you like really diving into the spirituality. And so we kind of like got to see that journey. And so I think it would be cool for you to share how that shift kind of happened.
Yeah.
Because it happened fast for you, and you're so open and you have so many gifts, but I feel like it almost felt like it was overnight.
Oh my God.
Something.
Yeah. I remember that. It was like all of a sudden we were like, oh my gosh. And you went deep real fast.
Right?
So, but that's kind of your personality.
That is how
you
I
like to just go
roll.
real deep, real fast.
Yeah. I can't help myself.
Yeah.
If I like something, if I love something, I cannot stop. It is an obsession, and it's immediate. Like, there's no waiting for me. It's like, if I want to learn about Kundalini. I'm going to do it now. I'm not going to wait until tomorrow. I'm going to go to like every class and do everything. That's just one example. But, with everything and especially this spiritual path. So meeting you guys, it's so fun to be on your podcast because meeting you guys was a huge catalyst for me. And it's just another reminder that the universe, like everything is all in its right timing, because we met at the retreat in Santa Barbara. And I know I've said this to you before, but I was wondering why I was there because I overcommitted myself and was unsure why I was going, really, like, because it was just like, why do I do all these things? I'm overcommitting myself and I'm driving all the way to Santa Barbara for a very short like talk and then I'm going to leave. But immediately I knew why I was there. And I saw you guys, like your faces in the audience, even though that's the wrong word because it was a very small group. But and like your faces were just like shining so bright in the way that I knew you, like in a soul way. And then you came up to me and said, we're Kundalini teachers in Los Angeles. And I was blown away because that was something I had been thinking so much about as someone who has been very into yoga for years, but never into Kundalini yoga. But then I was like, I don't even know what that is, but I've been obsessed with with it for like a few months and just knowing I need to learn and do it. Mm-hmm. So then we did a session and then we very quickly became friends. And then from there, like my life started to really spiral in a very spiritual way where because of my podcast, I was exposed to very just all different types of spiritual people, from psychics to mediums to Reiki masters like Kelsey to animal communicators and shamans and Kundalini teachers like you guys, and the list goes on. Mm-hmm. And so every week I was learning all these new things, crystal healers, like even modern types of shamans and everything. And then I thought, I want to do all this. Like, I love this. And what I've been doing in the health and wellness world is not enough, like for my heart and soul anymore. And I already knew that. And so then I just felt so guided. And I've always been really open. And I didn't know that what I was doing all this time was channeling and connecting to higher energies. I didn't know that. I just thought I thought my imagination was wild and that I would come up with these things all on my own. And that's why I was able to sit down and write, like 30,000 words in a couple days. Like I would do things like that all the time since I was really young, like 5 years old. I would write novels and my parents were like, "You're crazy," like in such a good way. They've always been so supportive. And anyway, long story short, I realized now I was always connected to a higher source of energy. And then I finally began to learn about it. And I found so much comfort and so much guidance in that. And now it's taken me to this really beautiful place where it has caused at times a lot of anxiety because there's a lot that I want to explore and I feel like really deep internal transformation happening. And I do also think that I got really sick physically because my soul was, my spiritual body was elevating really high and my physical body, it was way too fast and my physical body freaked out. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm forced to slow down in a way that I can really explore these things in a really positive way without the anxiety, because it's just like, it's fun. It's the world is kind of my oyster as that's what that keeps popping into my head. And yeah, I mean, I could keep talking, but that's the journey thus far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do remember it. It was like,
and you were taking so many people with you. It was so beautiful. Like everyone was so loving watching the journey, because I think at the time that you did it, so it was a time where a lot of people were kind of switching on their like spiritual body, if you will. I mean, like the feeling body and the body, like the people were just like, just ready for it. And there was a lot of people that were really attracted to you for that reason. And you were kind of like trailblazed, like a lot of, opening for a lot of people, I think, to all these different things, because you were so interested in it. So it was fun to watch from the sidelines. It was like, cool.
Yeah.
Who's Jordan talking to today?
Yeah. It was a fun time.
Yeah.
And it continues to be.
Yeah.
And I get so excited every time I hear from someone, which is daily, who says, you introduced me to this spiritual modality and it changed my life. And then I became an astrologer or whatever it was. And that thrills me because I'm on that path too. So to be on that path with people who have been following me for a long time or not, maybe newer, is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it gave people a lot of permission, like people that may have been like just into yoga physically, to kind of like open their minds a little more to the possibility of, you know, this whole other world that's inside of all of us.
Yeah.
You know, but I think a lot of people can cut it off and just focus on the physical. So,
exactly.
you know,
yeah,
it just opened it up for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's been exciting.
Yeah, it was fun to watch you kind of open up too. I remember, you know, Britt and I've talked about that before, where like, the physical body, we are always so focused on our physical bodies, you know, but when you're really going deeper within, it's like there's so much more available to us than just the physical body. However, the physical body is very important, but I'm starting to see it more and more and more. As you know, we live in LA, but like just in general across the US, people like are starting to do more like sound baths, and they're doing things that are so much more like spiritually aligned with them, or like they're dabbling in it. And it's people that you would never think, you know, people that maybe like a year ago would have been like, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
You know, and now they're like really interested in it. It's so fun to watch the world kind of like blossom that way, and get really into these spiritual practices that we all love and adore. So yeah, it's funny though that you say you wanted to learn all these things, because I have that same kind of personality. However, I know that I can't do all of it. And I'm like, I wish I could be the best at all of these things. Like I want to be the best hand drummer. I want to be a shaman. I want to be like a badass astrologer that can give readings all day. And like, but like, what do I really, how am I going to be best of service? And some of those things are like fun to dabble in, but like, I feel like you also kind of have to navigate, like, where are you going to serve the most and the best of your ability, you know, like where are you going to show up the best?
Yeah. I've had to do a lot of that work within myself too, because I was feeling really overwhelmed. Like I was doing a lot of things and then I wanted to do even more. I was blogging and teaching yoga and, you know, a bunch of other things. And then I wanted to do more. And it was very overwhelming because I felt like, just like you said, how can I best help and lead and guide others without just doing too much? If you do too much, you really can't do anything well. You really can't dive deep into anything and be committed to it. And what I learned so far is that I do feel most like a writer, and that excites me because I love to write and it makes sense. Like I mentioned, I've been writing since I could write and since I was 5 years old, and I love it. So to me, like learning about all these things just makes my writing deeper and helps me share more and teach. And when I think of like the people who inspire me, who I want to be like them, it's people who are writers, like spiritual writers, Gabby Bernstein, Deepak Chopra type of people who've written all these really amazing books that really share their life and teach spiritual awakenings at the same time. And that's what I love. And so, yes, of course, it requires me to learn all the time, but it doesn't require me to be everything, a shaman and like everything that I thought maybe could be.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on the way, and it's kind of like figuring out, like, I think it's so fun to have like a dabbling process. I think a lot of people need a dabbling process of like what it is that they're really drawn to. And sometimes you kind of need to try 100 things to figure it out. And then whatever one's most resonant, and it's like, just move with that one. And then like actually committing to going deeper with it. It's like, we've been talking about commitment a lot recently, where it's like the commitment to really one sort of healing modality. And even if you're just committing at one time and everything else kind of goes behind you while you're actually just committed and in it, is when you really get a lot of the benefit of that particular thing that you're focused on. So I feel like that's like, I'm working with that again myself, even because there's so many things that I want to do and learn, especially like to sort of enhance what we're doing here at Elevate the Globe. But it's like the commitment is what's really cool. And I feel like you're almost moving towards that right now. Like,
I feel that way. Like there's a lot of layers that I've had to shed to get to this point, because I have been talking about writing my next book for 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's overwhelming in itself, because the committing has been hard. And it's not that I haven't started, because I have started hundreds of times, but my life keeps shifting and like everything was moving too fast. So to slow down means that if I want to work on that next book, I can, but I don't have to, and just kind of go with the flow. Or maybe it's poetry, and that's exciting. Poetry book too would be so awesome. And like something that would definitely fill my soul. So I'm just open. But like you said, like it's been a big process to get to this point.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's been fun to watch on the outside.
It has been fun.
Yeah. So I feel like it would be cool to hear just a little bit about your journey with like figuring out that you had Lyme and what that was like, because for a while you weren't sure exactly what was happening. And I feel like you put so much love and energy into really like getting to the root of what was going on. And now you're on such a healing journey. So I think it would be fun to hear just a little bit more about how that was. Yeah.
Well, I was determined to figure out why my health was deteriorating more and more with every passing day, starting about a year ago. So I have been on a health journey for over a decade. Well, basically since I was born, but we don't have to go that far. But I have never been that healthy. I've always had issues, gastrointestinal issues, and like just a very sensitive body. But I was always very functional. And even though I was so sensitive, it was mostly with foods. And I would always just focus on saying and feeling that I had a sensitive stomach and digestion. But then as the years went on, I felt like that was not all. And when I was in high school, I would tell my mom that because no doctor could figure anything out at all, I would get every type of test in the whole world because my parents believed me because they watched me suffer. And we never found anything. And I would tell my mom, I swear to you, I have a very bad disease. And one day we'll know what it is. And I mean, I would say things like, I could die from this and nobody knows what it is. But if I die in my sleep, mark my words that I have been sick with like a very bad disease. And my parents were distraught. And it was
How old were you?
16. But then it would like ebb and flow. And for years I would be way more functional. And then for a while I wouldn't be. And it was like very up and down until last September. So a little over a year ago, when I started getting these really bad rashes all over my body. And they were not normal. They were not like your typical eczema rash, and nothing would make them go away. And so I thought I had food allergies and was getting tested from functional medicine doctors. And that wasn't really the cause. And then, of course, everyone had an opinion like, oh, you're allergic to your deodorant or your detergents or your cat or these foods. And I knew it wasn't any. Yeah,
Hudson's like, oh no,
popped up right when he said allergic to cat.
He whipped his head around.
He's like, it is not me. It was never me.
Yeah, it was never
Now
him.
he's putting himself down.
Yeah,
he's like, okay, you get
yeah, exactly. And then the rashes just got way worse. So after all of us were in Bali at the same time, right around then was when my health got so bad that I became hysterical, just like behind closed doors to Jonathan, and was totally hysterical because in Bali, everything was making me sick. Like whether it be coffee that I was drinking or the food that I was eating, like everything was going wrong. I was so bloated. I looked 9 months pregnant, and my skin, the rashes were getting worse and worse every single day. And then my face was breaking out, like worse than I've ever experienced in my life. And I was so tired. I couldn't get out of bed on that trip most of the time. And I would get these migraines that were so debilitating. Like I thought I needed to go to the hospital. Then we came home, and then my rash really exploded all over my whole body in a way that was very scary looking. And then I couldn't live my life for about 9 months and continued looking for answers. And I was just so out of my physical body at this point. I just wanted to believe like this is all a spiritual issue. Like I'm elevating in my spiritual body and my physical body's freaking out. And Western medicine was just failing me. I went to a dermatologist who told me this is just eczema and there's one medication for that and it will help you. And it didn't. And I knew it wasn't eczema. And then I was going to the hospital and getting cortisone shots. And meanwhile, I wasn't sleeping because like my skin was on fire and my whole life was deteriorating because of my health. So thankfully for a friend, Celeste, who I know has been on your podcast.
Yes.
She told me about my doctor, Dr. Erica Lehman. And Celeste said way back in January, I think you have Lyme disease because she met Dr. Lehman, and Dr. Lehman told her I treat all these women who have all of these issues like rashes and fibroids and fatigue and skin problems, and they have Lyme disease and they just don't know it. And Celeste told me that, and I thought, I didn't know anything about Lyme disease, but I thought like you could be right, but I have a lot of doctors and I don't think I can have another one because it's just such a process, not only financially, but with time and energy. And if you're going to commit to a doctor, you're committing to months of testing. And long story short, I finally saw Dr. Lehman. She tested me and then she found that I had Lyme disease and a lot of co-infections like mold poisoning, mast cell activation syndrome, which is why the rashes were so bad. And I had histamine levels in my body that were like on the charts, it would be a 1300 and a normal number is 30 or less. So we've gotten them down to like 600, but obviously that's still really high. Mm-hmm. But that's why I don't have full body rashes right now. And then,
that's
I've been
really nice
on a healing
journey.
So you can actually sleep. Well, they came back when I was in New York. So it's always like, you have to be so careful.
Yeah.
So I've been on a healing journey since, well, the whole time, but really since finding out what I had. And
so
I've tried a lot.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So do you think you've had this since you were a kid, or do you like, how are you feeling intuitively?
I think I've had it since I was about 16, but I think it was very dormant in my body because that happens. And then I think it got flared up because Lyme, contrary to popular belief, can be carried by a multitude of bugs. So not just ticks, but last year in my old apartment, we had a very, very, very bad infestation of fleas through Hudson, but like they came through the window and whatever. We had thousands and thousands, and I was getting thousands of bites per day. And so that's what I thought like my rashes were initially, were just like clusters of flea bites. As disgusting as that sounds.
I know,
I'm so sorry for that visual. But no, I think that one of those fleas, or multiple, was carrying diseases, and it flared my Lyme back up. And I think that's what happened.
So were you ever tested for Lyme before?
Never in my life.
So, wow. So it's so interesting because, you'd think that they would have tested you for it.
Well, that's like
at least a couple years ago when it was starting to be a little bit more well known.
That is the biggest question of the century.
It's kind of like, why? Yeah.
I mean, I really gave a stern talking to my functional medicine doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't track down like all the Western doctors I've seen, but I've like seen him really closely over the last few years. And I needed him to know, like, if people are coming to you with these symptoms, it is not all related to the gut.
No.
I mean, yes, of course, the gut will freak out when everything in your body is off, but there's a cause. And my cause was not just Lyme, but mold. And nobody tested me. Nobody even mentioned it. And nothing against my doctor. I love him. Like, he's a good guy. He's extremely smart. I think way more doctors in the world should be more like him. But he just didn't know anything about Lyme or mold. And unfortunately, that's really common.
Yeah, my best friend from college had the same thing. Like, she would get eczema all over. She would get, like, she was so exhausted, and she had the same like Lyme with mold poisoning, and then a number of other things as well. But I think those were the two that were combined. My mom also has chronic Lyme, who's had it for like 10 years, and she didn't know she had it until just a few years ago. So it's one of those, because it's like it manifests a little bit differently in everyone, correct?
Yeah, that's why it's so confusing.
It's confusing, yeah.
Because I had heard of Lyme, of course, but I never really understood the symptoms. And when I did hear about Lyme, like, there are documentaries that everyone should watch. One of them is called Under Our Skin. And it shows like very severe cases of Lyme, people who are debilitated in their bodies and their brains, because it does cause significant brain damage in some, unfortunately, when you have it for long periods of time. And other people lose their ability to walk and to have any motor function.
Oh my gosh.
So it's really confusing, because if you see something like that and you're relatively functional, you imagine, I don't have that. And it's just this wild disease that manifests very differently in everyone. And I've never really met someone with my symptoms. I mean, yes, like with my symptoms, but not every single one of them.
Right. Yeah.
And they would have my symptoms and then different ones that I don't have. That's what's confusing.
Yeah. It's just like a mystery disease.
So crazy.
Well, it also weakens your immune system so much that it causes a lot of other things. And then you're not really sure
You're not sure
what
is
caused by Lyme. And then mast cell activation syndrome, which has only been like a term for 3 years, is another really awful. That's the histamine level thing that I had going on with me. That is caused by Lyme, and it's caused by the severe inflammation in your body from Lyme and mold. And basically, MCAS, that's the little acronym for it, makes you allergic to everything. So you become then allergic to every food, and you do become allergic to then every animal around you, and like every chemical, if someone's wearing perfume. And then you start to like really think you can't exist in this world, but really you just have a histamine problem. So there are a lot of things you can do for that. You can take antihistamines. Like, that's one really good place to start. And then you should take them like as potent as possible. And of course, get a doctor who can help you. Water fasting helped me a lot. I do believe that's why my histamine levels cut in half this summer, because I water fasted for a month. But I mean, it's different for everybody.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I know.
Such a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's very close to my heart because my mom suffers from Lyme, chronic Lyme, and it's hard. It's hard, especially to see, like you are the third friend now that in person in my life that I know that has Lyme, and Jackie, my friend Jackie, she's fine if I tell her this on the podcast. She's the one I was talking about with all the symptoms, that the mold and the Lyme. Lyme is gone from the body, or it's not active at all.
Right.
Where and then some people like my mom, it's chronic and she's having a hard time like making it dormant. And I don't even know if it goes dormant, but I've kind of like, I really need to dive into really researching more of it, because it's so confusing to me, even as somebody who is surrounded by it. Like I see you going through it. I see my mom going through it. I'm like, it's just a confusing one to like kind of grapple with. Like, do you have any books that you've read on it or anything that like other resources? I know you said a documentary,
right? Under Our Skin, the documentary. I mean, it's disturbing, disturbing to the point where Jonathan like is still unable to watch it, but it's because I have Lyme. So
for sure.
It's very scary to him. But, there are so many things. When I was first diagnosed, I read a lot of memoirs. I read Yolanda Hadid's memoir called Believe Me, about her experience. And her experience too was really worsened because she had breast implants. So she had like all this toxicity because I think one of them had burst. And then she had a lot of metal fillings in her teeth, and like all these things, if you have Lyme and co-infections, can kill you and make you unable to function. Ali Hilfiger has an amazing book called Bite Me, and I learned a lot from her book. These are all like very memoir based, nothing scientific, which sometimes is a really good way to learn, because you learn like someone's whole entire experience with Lyme.
Yeah.
And then there's another one called Sick by this woman, Purachista Kapoor, I think is her last name. And she had still has a really devastating experience with Lyme, where she like has, chronic, never gotten better. And then the Global Lyme Alliance, which is this amazing organization, they work to raise awareness and funding and education. So if you go to their website, they have amazing resources from videos that they've made, interviews, tons of articles. They work with really influential people who have Lyme, like Avril Lavigne, who's really outspoken amazingly. Only recently, because she's been so sick, she hasn't been able to for years. And Yolanda and countless other people, this pro golf player, Jimmy Walker. So they work with a lot of people to just help spread the message and to help learn. And then the more scientific stuff too. They do lots of research studies, and they have a board of doctors and scientists who are working every day to get the testing more standardized so that the testing's not so outdated, because currently 50% of Lyme cases, even if you're tested, will come back as a false negative.
Oh my gosh.
They are finally, because of just the amount of research they've been doing and support that they've had, which is minimal support compared to other diseases that get so much more attention and funding, is they've done an amazing thing. But really, it's just so unfortunate because the insurance companies only cover 2 weeks of antibiotics. And that is like the claim that those will cure you from Lyme. And the only way that they could cure you from Lyme is if you had gotten bitten by a tick within 2 weeks. So nobody really knows if they've been bitten by a tick in 2 weeks. It's the size of a poppy seed.
Oh
you
my
don't
gosh.
start feeling sick for months or years. So
Oh, geez.
Wow.
it's wild.
Yeah.
It is really wild.
But it is so amazing that they're doing so much more research and so many more people are sharing their stories. So I feel like it will have to change.
It will. Yeah, they're definitely trailblazers. And then there's amazing doctors, but people have to travel from all over the world to even find a good Lyme doctor. So just by the way, if anyone's listening and they think they have Lyme, you want to find a Lyme literate doctor. I didn't even know what that term meant at all until I was looking into getting tested for Lyme. So, and a Lyme literate MD, LLMD, you can search them on the Global Lyme Alliance's website or just on Google, and that's what you'll want because they are familiar with the testing that can actually get accurate results. And there's great doctors here in LA and there's great doctors in big cities, but people in like middle America, they really struggle because there are not a lot of Lyme literate doctors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's so helpful. I feel like the more and more that you're talking about it and more people are talking about it, the more people will understand and, you know.
I hope so because I don't want anyone to suffer for as long as I did with no answers.
No.
Yeah. Like even request the test from your doctor.
Beg your doctor because
right.
Like if
just
you feel like that's happening, like just do it.
Your doctor will, like, if they're not a Lyme literate doctor, they will either not believe you, they will laugh at you, or they will know nothing about Lyme. Maybe they can refer you to someone else, or maybe they're great. I don't want to assume the worst, but I'm just saying from experience and from the thousands of people who I've communicated with about this, like that's the very common experience. So if you do tell your doctor, I think I have Lyme, be prepared to hear some very strange responses. Like you can only get Lyme disease in Connecticut, or Lyme's disease, as people love to call it, which is not what it's called, doesn't exist. Like you will hear a lot of things from doctors who don't know.
Oh yeah, I remember you like telling us about your different doctors.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But I mean, there are great doctors out there. So there's a lot of hope.
There is. Yeah. I think there's a lot happening now that it's at least becoming clear now that it is unclear, that the symptoms are unclear. So just like know that they're unclear and like get the dang test anyway.
Right. Exactly.
You know, like just give me the test because you know, it is funny. It's like, that was my first thought when my mom and my best friend from college got diagnosed. It was like, wait, but I thought that was an East Coast thing. And they both were like, wait, how did I get this? I haven't been to the East Coast. This was like years ago. Mm-hmm. Like I haven't gotten a tick bite. I don't think.
Oh, I know.
It's like, well, they're like, that can't even be possible.
That's
he
how
was like,
I
it's
felt.
not even possible. It's like, well, I don't know if we know anything about it.
It's scary. Well, I mean, even for the first few months of being diagnosed, I was pretty certain that I did get bitten on the East Coast because I lived in New York for a while and I spent time in the Hamptons, and the Hamptons is rampant with deer ticks that carry Lyme disease. And so I was pretty convinced maybe I was bitten there. But that was before I learned that there are bugs here in California, ticks and fleas and mosquitoes and horseflies that carry Lyme disease and all of the co-infections. So there's like a co-infection called babesia, which causes extreme insomnia, among other things. And I've had insomnia since I was in high school. Like the worst, the kind that does not respond to medication, where you'll be awake for weeks. And it has ruined my life at times. So I was very happy to learn that that's not just like my brain chemistry, it's actually a disease.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like it must be so liberating, although you're still healing, to just at least have that clarity. And like have a plan and know what's happening, especially when it was, it's been for so long that you had no idea.
It is. It was kind of like a celebration when I found out. It was like a weird celebration because it was devastating because I didn't just have Lyme disease. There was a list of 10 things and it took me a few months to learn about all of them. So it was very overwhelming, but it was also a celebration because I finally had a doctor who understood me, and that was exciting.
Yeah.
So
it's like
amazing.
it's like finding your life partner.
It is.
Like I found my health partner.
I was like, where have you been? You need to publicize yourself because people don't know.
Oh my
I
gosh.
didn't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So everything happens for a reason. And Celeste met her for a reason and told me about her for a reason. And it took me 5 months to make an appointment with her, but I'm very glad I did.
We are too. So happy. And I feel like you're so positive and like have been so just proactive in your healing. And I think it's really an inspiration because we are all like healing in different ways. Every single person that's listening. And like, although yours, is Lyme disease, I feel like it's just a message of like, how do you handle sickness?
Right.
Which can be in so many forms. And
yes.
I know you have ideas as to like the spiritual meaning behind your journey. So like, has that helped you stay really positive? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because the whole time, instead of thinking, why me? I mean, I've had those moments for sure. Because it is hard to be the sick one when you have a lot of really healthy people in your life. But instead of focusing on those feelings, I feel much more like this is a huge gift. And I'm just so excited to continue uncovering what the purpose of me being so sick is. But I know it's like the wounded healer's path, as they say. And you can really only heal if you've really had to heal yourself. So, I mean, for me, like that's a very physical thing. And I really look forward to what that brings me. And I do feel so lucky that I already have a really wonderful audience of people, and they're so supportive, like the ones who really matter and are meant to be there. Like they will come with me wherever the journey goes. And that's exciting to me because I know it's kind of just going to unfold into something really beautiful, way more beautiful than it would have been if I did not go through this. But first I have to go through it. So I just have to be patient.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's part of the journey.
Yeah. I remind myself that like one day or 2 days or a week or a year is like really no time. Like time doesn't exist. And it's hard in the moment, but it's setting me up for something so much bigger.
Well, you physically look better.
That's good.
Than even a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
You just look brighter, and I feel like you have more. Do you have more good days now than you have bad days, or is it kind of even? Or is it
I have more bad days.
You have more bad days.
I have probably like one good day a week, and this is that day, so it was really meant to be that you guys are here. But no, maybe I have more good days than I did earlier this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm at a point where ozone seems to be making me feel better after I have it than it used to be. It made me feel much worse after I had it because it was killing so many bacteria. But no, I mean, it's this weird thing because I think everyone around me, I hear that a lot. Like, you look better. And like Jillian told me that yesterday, she was at the doctor with me and saying like, you're responding so much better to the ozone and like you're way more energized and you look so much better. And it's truly shocking to me because I feel the opposite.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah.
I feel on the inside not good, like especially after traveling just recently, and I told you what happened in the car today. Like, I shouldn't have been driving. And I don't know. That's why I know I'm coming to this point of taking a huge break from everything. And I feel optimistic, and that's good. So I don't really know. I don't know, but I have found things that help. So I'm sure that's helping. I mean, for one, the way that I eat helps a lot. The salt, oil, sugar-free, vegan lifestyle that is not necessary for everyone, but for people who are healing from really traumatic inflammation, it's really helped me. And water fasting, I try to do that as much as I can, even if it's like one day a week. But I'm looking into doing another like month long. If I am cleared by my doctor, I don't know if it's the best time. Those things help. I mean, spiritual practice, and I was forced to rest after my surgery, my fibroid removal, 5 or 6 weeks ago. And I'm sure that abundance of rest and absolute inability to exercise things has been good for me.
Mm-hmm. You just look less inflamed.
Oh yeah.
That's what it is. It's like, you just look like your body can like relax for a minute.
I feel that.
Like just the inflammation feels like you just almost felt like you were on fire before.
Yeah.
Well, you were kind of.
I was.
Yeah.
So that's true. That's way better. And I have to focus. I could do better on focusing on things like that because I have come a long way.
You totally have.
So true. Oh my gosh. Well, we're so excited for you for this break.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good.
It's going to be really, really juicy.
Right?
Yeah, it is. I'm excited. I don't think I've ever been this excited, which is pretty sad because it's like, it shouldn't be that exciting. But no, I've never looked forward to something more than this in my life. So I know it's right.
So, was there like a one day or one moment when
just
you
getting messages?
Oh, I thought you were
I like stare out when I'm like getting stuff.
Yeah,
I'm excited to share.
I'm excited to hear it.
Was there like a certain day that you decided like, okay, I'm going to take this break?
Yeah.
Did you get like...
I had a session with Mama Medicine.
Yes.
You guys know her?
Yeah. Yes.
Deborah. And well, it was really hard because it was not like an easy thing. Like I was like in a crisis when I talked to her, and she saw that and suggested this break, but that was not the first time I had thought about it. And it really scared me because like it was presented to me in a way that was like, you could take a break or you could like, walk away from your entire brand because like you're at the severe point of burnout and sickness and you're not listening to your body or your intuition. And that's like extremely concerning. So it was like scary. It was not like an exciting revelation at first. And it really scared me because I thought, oh my gosh, I've worked so hard to build my brand and like make it. It's so important to me.
Yeah.
It's me. It is me. It's the hugest part of my life. And I knew like hearing that from her that wasn't what I would do. And I mean, she wasn't telling me to do that. It was like options. I knew I would not walk away from my brand, but I knew I needed to take a break. And then I freaked out. Like it was a very scary, like 48 hours because I was like, Jonathan came home and I was word vomiting all of this to him. And he, we were just talking it out. Like, how could I take a break from, I have a lot of ongoing brand partners who I've been working with for years who really give me the ability to blog for a living. And what would that look like to just not do any of that and put it all on hold? And like, will they understand? And will they just never come back to me? And then how will I make a living? And so like, there was a lot of things to work out for a couple of days, but I very quickly made a plan and it became less scary. Like, it's very okay to take time off, and everybody understands, like these brands that I've been working with for years, like they're very aware that I'm pretty much unable to do what I used to do for them right now. And everything I do for them is extremely late. And our podcast team, we all have the same. They're so great. Like they're very aware that everything I send into them to be edited and prepared to be released on the podcast every week is extremely late. And I mean, extremely, like it is a miracle that it comes out on time. And it's only because they believe in me and care about me as a person, and they know that I'm doing the best that I can. So this was not a surprise to anyone when I told them like, this is going to be a break. And I was very worried about not releasing my podcast for a few months, but then I decided, and this is the first place I'm even saying this like publicly, is that I'll be releasing like best of the podcast episodes for a few months, like old episodes.
Oh, that's
that
cool.
People
That's
haven't
cool,
heard in years, and maybe a lot of my newer listeners have never heard them. I always get requests from my listeners for guests who I've already had on who they just didn't realize because it's been a while. So I'm excited about that. The podcast will not stop coming out. I just won't be recording them, which is the whole point. Like I have to not do that for a while. And I haven't felt that good about like the podcasts that I've released all year because I really don't feel like myself. And that takes a toll on you too. So once I finally figured out how this break would look, then I decided, and this was all only like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I decided, no, less than that, like 2 weeks ago, that I would take this break and it would be really positive. And then I started to get ridiculously excited about it, and then get all sorts of messages from the universe and then from all these intuitive people in my life, and Hudson and our friend Ashley. And every day I get huge amounts of guidance that this is the right thing to do. And then now it's just a matter of how soon can I start? Because I can't wait. I do have a lot of things to tie up because I do care a lot about my brand. So Thanksgiving will be the absolute latest that I continue working, but I have a feeling a little sooner I'll be able to tie things up.
I love it.
Well, we're so happy for you.
We are really happy for you. I'm excited.
Thank you.
And we know that everybody is going to benefit so much more from your break, as well as, of course, yourself, which is most important.
Exactly.
So it's just going to be like a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, I feel that way. I think I'll come back and be a lot more myself, and people will be like, oh, I didn't even know that's what you were like, because I've been not feeling well for so long.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for sharing with us all of the things that are going on right now. And with your journey, I literally saw like the universe sort of sewing in whatever you were saying and wherever we've all been saying. There's a lot of people that are going to really benefit from this. I just saw them like sewing in topics for people are going to take away little nuggets from this. And I feel like it's going to help a lot of people change a lot of different things in their life, even if it has nothing to do with Lyme disease. So
that's exciting.
I'm excited for it. And this has been so lovely to have one of our very, very good friends here on the podcast.
Happy.
So
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. We have 2 quick last questions.
Okay.
So the first one is, what's your favorite way to elevate yourself?
Oh, my favorite way to elevate myself is to, well, take a break. That's like, I really wanted to say something different that it wouldn't let me.
No,
I like that.
Yeah, the universe wouldn't let me say something different. It's to take a break. I mean, that even in a much smaller sense than we've been discussing, like take a bath.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah. Walk away from the phone for an hour. Things like that.
We've been talking about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
So you have to really like make it a practice, a spiritual practice.
For sure.
We were literally talking about that in the car. Because I was like, Brett, how do we stop we were like, we're going to have a really easy week. And we're like, it's still crazy. And I'm like, the only way I know how to stop it is to just stop it. Like I just took the morning and was like, it's noon. And I had breakfast and I meditated and I took the dog on a walk.
but it's noon. Like what happened?
Well, yeah,
But
you
like, it's just
have
slow.
to do that. The thing
It's a
is,
slow
like,
time.
that is a really good way to live life. And
Right?
Yeah.
we don't view it that way because our society is not really celebratory of that right now. But I think that that will change as people continue to get burnt out and sick and unhappy and tired. And then we'll realize like, you just have to live life. And like, that's not all about work, and starting working at like noon or 1:30 is really not a big deal, especially when you work for yourself. But like, yeah, I never would have done that in the past.
Right?
Yeah, I would have had a lot of anxiety. Now it's normal to me.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it.
And the last question is, okay, imagine yourself on a stage and everyone is watching you. The whole world is watching you. What would you leave them with?
Oh my gosh, that's really cool. I just kind of like saw it. Oh my gosh. What would I say? I would say that don't ever forget to take care of yourself first. And if you're not doing that, you're really not going to be able to take care of the people that you love and be there for the people that mean the most to you and the things that mean the most to you, whether that be your work, your life's work, your business, your career, your family, your pets, like whatever it is that is the most important to you. You really cannot show up fully if you're not taking care of yourself. And then that requires you to know yourself. So get to know yourself.
I love this.
Oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
Such a good message. And I feel like we can all really like take a page out of that book and learn, and we can all like rest more and know ourselves more and take care of ourselves more. So
that's a good question. I like that question
Right?
that you guys asked.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Awesome. And then where can people find you?
They can find me on the Balanced Blonde.
Nowhere, right?
Yeah.
For 3 months.
First of all, nowhere. But if you want to see like my messages of like explaining why I'm going away, which I'm so excited to write, thebalancedblonde.com, The Balanced Blonde on Instagram, The Balanced Blonde Soul on Fire podcast. And yeah, I mean, even though I'll be gone, there are years worth of content to look through if you want.
Love it.
That's the thing. You have
Yeah.
so much content.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
We love you
We
so
love you.
much.
I love you both so much.
Thank you for everything you shared.
Yeah.
Satnam.
Such a great episode. Another incredible episode. And, you know, I'm just so excited that you guys got to hear that conversation. Like I mentioned, you know, Jordan has become such a good friend. And the fact that she was able to share with us and with all of you guys how her journey has been through her Lyme disease and just everything that's been, you know, going on and evolving in her life was so cool to sit down and have that chat together. And, you know, these really are the types of conversations that we always have together, all about spirituality and wellness and our journeys and how we're growing and evolving. And so it really was so nice to have Jordan on. I hope each of you felt something deeply in your hearts from this conversation and were able to take away something that you can apply to your life. It was such a great reminder to me to, you know, always rest and prioritize relaxation and health. And it's really nice to see, you know, somebody like Jordan who's been doing this for a lot longer than Tara and I have, you know, and just kind of see like what's working for her, what's not, and how she incorporates rest and healing. And now, you know, everything that she's doing to really get her health back on track. So it's so inspiring. And we're really excited for Jordan and her upcoming, detox from work and her break that she has. So we just can only imagine what's going to come out of that time. Disconnected to reconnect. And we can all take a page out of Jordan's book. So I love you all so much. So grateful for each and every one of you listening. And this is just literally the best part of having a podcast, is having your friends on and being able to share it with you guys. So thank you again. And now we'll go ahead and get into our lobby talk.
It's time for lobby talk.
Hello, you guys. It's Britt, and it's the first time that I've been in the lobby by myself without my fabulous partner, Tara. But I do have a lot to talk about, so I'm really excited. So this past week, you may have been following along with our travels if you follow us at Elevate the Globe over on Instagram. But we were in Central California at Soul Camp. And then we ventured over to Palm Springs for the Wanderlust Wellspring 2018 festival. So we had such an incredible time. And I wanted to share a few of my takeaways and kind of coolest experiences that have stuck with me. And I think you guys will love to hear about. So first is Soul Camp. And we went to Soul Camp as instructors to teach. We taught 2 classes. We taught our chakra experience and then our Kundalini yoga class. And there was so many amazing campers. It's just this adult summer camp. And Tara and I went kayaking and we jumped on trampolines and we did angel reading sessions and we had delicious vegan food and we connected with so many amazing people. So the really cool thing that happened at Soul Camp is we were in another room with another girl, Mary Liz, and there was supposed to be one other girl with us, but she ended up tenting because her fiance came last minute. So it was just us 3. And anyways, long story short, you guys, Mary Liz is a beautiful, incredible human being. She lives in Vegas and she does so many healing modalities. She really uses dance and so much else to transmit her healing. And she also connects with Jesus and so many spiritual beings and has been able to speak in tongue and transmit healing through light codes and different messages and channelings that she receives. So, of course, she was our roommate. And of course, it was just us 3. And of course, she couldn't sleep one night because all of these angels and guides were prompting her to deliver a message to Tara and I. So that's what ended up happening. And it was super cool and pretty standard for us and our adventures. If you guys have been following us, along on this journey so far. But this one was honestly one of the craziest, I will say. So she ended up speaking in tongue, channeling all of these people. Jesus Christ came in, goddesses came in. It was just this transmission of them telling us about a scroll they were giving us from the Akashic records, from the archives, about a new sort of way that we can teach people healing. And so you can tell probably by the way that I'm explaining it that it's not extremely clear yet, but basically they have put us on a mission and they're going to be delivering us piece by piece messages about an ancient tradition that has been lost that they're wanting us to be a part of bringing back. And so So we were not expecting that, of course. And Tara started channeling so much. I was receiving basically direction to draw pictures and write down what they were showing me. I was seeing a lot of visions and hearing a lot of messages. And Tara came through with so many messages as well. And it was just this really intense 2-hour, maybe 3-hour session total with the angels. So they basically said that they're going to continue to deliver the pieces. But we're really excited about meeting Mary Liz. She's actually going to come down in January. And on January 11th, we're going to do an event together with her amazing healing movement and practices and our Kundalini. And we might even have a DJ. So more on that soon. But she is just a light worker and a light being. And we're also going to have her on the podcast coming up here because we share all of the amazing people we meet with you guys. So more on that to come. Pretty standard lobby talk. Things that you would probably not hear in a lobby, but in our world of Elevate the Globe, it's totally standard lobby talk. And we want to make this stuff more normal to talk about. So anyways, guys, then we went to Wellspring. So I have got to share one thing from Wellspring that will just knock your socks off. I honestly am beyond inspired. And it is a woman called Laraya Gaston. And she is the founder of Lunch on Me, which is a nonprofit that's feeding over 10,000 people a month. So nearly 100% of her proceeds go to what they're doing. And they're basically working to solve LA's homelessness crisis. So she's working on Skid Row. She found a way to get food waste from Whole Foods and, other places. And she basically is distributing it out to the homeless and feeding these people. She feeds only organic meals that she would eat herself. And she is truly, I'm getting chills right now. She is truly like just this angel, this earth angel. And it's incredible, her stories. She talked about how she just went on Skid Row for 11 days and tented out there and basically wanted to experience what it was really like to live on Skid Row. She's been going out there and feeding these people and making relationships for so long, but she hasn't ever actually, felt what it was like to live there. So she's shooting a documentary, documenting all of this, but she had us all in tears, and she actually brought a woman, Miss Brenda, to Wellspring to come up on stage and speak. It was her first time ever speaking on stage. And she is this beautiful woman who is like a mother now to Laraya, who's homeless and living on Skid Row. And she brought her there. And oh my God, you guys, it was just so eye-opening. And basically, we're having her on the podcast. We're going to work on Lunch on Me because she's actually bringing mindfulness into Skid Row. So she's, bringing people to do yoga classes. We're going to go down there and teach. And, there's just so many opportunities to get involved with her mission, but she truly is just really making a huge difference in the world. And these are the kind of people and these are the kind of organizations that we really want to bring to you guys, because it's, starting to really be at a point where we need to be out there on the grounds in, these areas where people don't have as much privilege as a lot of us. And we really need to be giving back in a bigger and bigger way. So we're taking you guys on this journey. So many messages have been coming to us on this subject exactly, and how we can give back more, how we can bring more of this charity and more of this giving back and more of this elevating the globe in our communities, in our countries, on a global platform. And, we're ready. The time is now. So many of you have been elevating personally, have been going within, have the practices in place, or are on your way to get there. And, we're all ready to kind of step out and just get out there and go where we're needed most, and really wherever we're called to go. So that was exciting. And I am so excited about Lunch on Me, about Lariah, about getting more involved, having her on the podcast. Her stories, you guys, we were talking to her for like 45 minutes after her speech. Her stories will blow your mind, absolutely blow your mind. So many amazing things coming soon, you guys. And thank you for listening. Thank you for having me as your solo host today. Although Tara was host of the podcast with Jordan, but this was fun to chat with you guys in the lobby and in the intro and outro. So we will see you next time. May the pure light within you guide your way on. Sat Nam. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Send us a screenshot to the elevator at elevatetheglobe.com, and we'll send you our magic morning checklist. Sat Nam.